Welcome back to our study in the book of Acts as we continue with the Apostle Paul as he takes another step closer to Rome, closer ultimately to his death. In Acts 25 verse 1, now Festus had come to the province after 3 days. He went up from Caesarea to Jerusalem. Felix is succeeded in the governorship of Judea by Porcius Festus. The former governor Felix had treated the Jews harshly, causing a severe reaction among the Jews. As a result, Felix was removed from office and was replaced by Festus. Notice how quickly Festus sought to appease and show his respect to the Jews within 3 days after assuming governorship. He immediately travelled to Jerusalem. What happens with Festus from this point on paints a picture of a various kind of man. Verse 2 says, and the high priest and chief men of the Jews informed him against Paul, and they petitioned him. This probably refers to the Sanhedrin. Previously, the Sanhedrin had cooperated with the 40 zealots in a plot against Paul. Now they themselves plotted against Paul. Notice how they wanted to take advantage of Festus. They knew that he's new in the job, and right away they made a petition concerning Paul. How much time has passed already since Felix left office? 2 whole years. But these men couldn't forget the issues concerning Paul. When the heart of a man is full of hatred, they can't forget things. Verse 3, asking a favour against him that he would summon him to Jerusalem while they lay in ambush along the road to kill him. They wanted a favour. What favour was that? To bring Paul to Jerusalem so they could kill him. That's the ambush these men are planning against God's servant. These men are acting like the wife of Herod when she requested the head of John the Baptist. Festus has the opportunity to listen to them and to become famous among the Jewish men. Will he? Verse 4 says, but Festus answered that Paul should be kept at Caesarea, and that he himself was going there shortly. Apparently, Festus appeared to be a serious and responsible official when he said that. Paul would remember Caesarea, and that shortly he would go to him. Festus is not in a position to let these men decide what the Roman government has to do regarding a prisoner. Many want Paul dead now, but they have seen their hopes fade away. All of these Roman governors knew that the only thing these men really wanted was to shed innocent blood. They didn't want to be partakers of that. Verse 5, he said, let those who are authority among you go down with me and accuse this man to see if there is any fault in him. Here we go again with the same story as before. If someone is summoned against this man, bring it to Caesarea. There we will discuss the matter. Ananias has been there. Many accusers have been there. Lysias has been there. A man named Tertullus, the lawyer, has been there. Has no one told Festus about all this? They just will not stop accusing Paul. As the new governor, Festus stayed among them for a while in order to straighten out all of the problems that Felix had caused. Verse 6 says, and when he remained among them more than 10 days, he went down to Caesarea, and the next day, sitting on the judgment seat, he commanded Paul to be brought. So after that, Festus travelled back to Caesarea, and while in Caesarea the very next day, Paul was brought before Festus so that they could meet for the first time. That just shows the importance and significance of Paul in the situation between Caesarea and Jerusalem. Again, Festus, as a new governor, will be in front of Paul. The accusers will be there also. The only difference is this time there's no lawyer. Accusing someone is easy. Verse 8 says, when he came down, the Jews who come down from Jerusalem stood about and laid many serious complaints against Paul, which they could not prove. Accusing somebody is easy. Proving these accusations is a different story. Many have come to this place accusing Paul of many things, but according to Luke, no one can prove any of the accusations. Luke also mentioned these are serious accusations. This time Luke doesn't mention the accusations they brought forth, but from the previous ones we know that they complained about heresy, sacrilege, and sedition. Verse 8 says, "Well, he answered for himself, neither against the law, nor the Jews, nor against the temple, nor against Caesar have I offended in anything at all." What Paul is saying here is very close to what Jesus said. Someone may ask, if Paul had miraculous power, why couldn't he perform a miracle right there and be freed? Did Jesus have power? Of course he did. Chapter 26, verse 53 says, "Or do you not think I can't now pray to my Father, and he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels?" Why did Jesus not do it? Love for you and me. And that's the same reason why Paul didn't do it either. Paul is refusing to go to Jerusalem, for he knows what will happen there. See, Festus is not an honest man either. Festus knows about the plot, and here he is trying to intimidate Paul by saying, "Are you willing to go to Jerusalem and be judged there?" The point is not that Paul was afraid, but rather Jesus had a plan for his servant. He would not die in the city of Jerusalem. Festus already started off on the wrong foot. Verse 10 says, "So Paul said, I stand at Caesar's judgment seat, where I ought to be judged. To the Jews I have done no wrong, as you very well know." Christians have the right to defend themselves when they are accused in an unjust manner. This is the first time Paul mentioned that he is at Caesar's judgment seat. He knows his rights, and right now he is not in the position to please neither Jews nor Festus. That's the reason why Paul now mentions Caesar's name. Paul admits doing no wrong to anyone. He's not guilty of anything. Right now Festus is also aware of that. As you very well know, Paul knew that Festus knows. An offender, if I am. Did he commit anything? If so, I will die. Verse 11 says, "For if I am an offender or committed anything but deserving death, I do not object to dying. But if there is nothing in these things of which these men accuse me, no one can deliver me to them. I appeal to Caesar." But if there is any wrong, if the accusations have no basis, no one, not you, not Felix, not Lysis, nor Sanhedrin can deliver me to them. I am a Roman. No one can touch me. I appeal to Caesar. It's been more than 2 years, and now Paul is tired of all this mockery. I appeal to Caesar. Nero had become emperor by this time. It was the right of every Roman citizen, when a local Roman court couldn't decide his guilt or innocence, to have his case heard before Caesar himself or his representative in Rome. This was the highest court of appeal, and winning such a case could have led to more than just Paul's acquittal. It could have resulted in an official recognition of Christianity as distinct from Judaism. He was at Caesar's judgment seat where he could be judged. He had done no wrong to the Jews, as Festus knew. He was willing to die if he had done anything worthy of death. If he was not guilty of doing wrong to the Jews, no person could legitimately deliver him to them. He appealed to Caesar. Festus is not willing to continue this trial. He couldn't handle the case nor the man. There's no guilt on Paul's part, and partially that is the reason why he says, "I want to go to Caesar." Is this Paul talking, or is this Bible prophecy? Acts 9 verse 15 says, "But the Lord said to him, Go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name before the Gentiles, kings, and children of Israel. I will show him many things he must suffer for my name's sake." Marcus Julius Agrippa. Julius Agrippa was the son of Herod Agrippa I, the man who killed James and put the apostle Peter in prison. He is also the great-grandson of Herod the Great, the man who ordered the killing of all the babies in the time of Jesus. Verse 13 says, "So after some days, King Agrippa and Bernice came to Caesarea to greet Festus." So what we see in this event is that this man comes from a very criminal lineage. Luke presents this man with a woman, Bernice. What is the relationship between them? They are brother and sister. But that's not all. They were living together in incest. Agrippa was also the brother of Drusilla. This Drusilla was the wife of Felix, so that makes Herod and Felix brothers-in-law. Bernice was a woman of very long and very doubtful conduct. Long after her relationship with her brother ended, Bernice became the mistress of the general Titus. When Agrippa first died, eaten by worms, Agrippa II was 17 years old and was living in Rome. Agrippa II became the king in about 52 AD. Agrippa II was in power when Titus came and destroyed the city of Jerusalem in the year 70 AD. An incestuous relationship was not unusual for the Herods. You might remember that one of the Herods had John the Baptizer decapitated because John had rebuked him for living with his brother's wife. For the background information about attitudes and problems of Roman governors of Palestine, you can read the letters of Pontius Pilate to his friend Seneca in Rome. Felix, Festus, and others that preceded and followed them in this position must have made similar observations and had many similar feelings. The next picture shows an inscription found at Caesarea from this time that calls Pontius Pilate the prefect of Judea. His governorship was 26 to 36 AD. Verse 14 says, when he had been there many days, Festus laid Paul's case before the king, saying, there's a certain man left a prisoner by Felix. When King Agrippa came down to welcome Festus to the province, Festus told him about Paul. The subject had to come up. Paul was a very important topic, and they couldn't ignore the issue. Festus is telling Agrippa there's a certain man left a prisoner by Felix. Festus is probably looking to King Agrippa to shed some light on the matter regarding this prisoner. Some scholars believe that maybe Festus was trying to convince Agrippa. Paul was a dangerous man. Verse 14 and 15, when they had been there many days, he laid Paul's case before the king, and the certain man left a prisoner about whom the chief priests and the elders of the Jews informed me when I was in Jerusalem, asking for judgment against him. The case of Paul now being in the hands of King Agrippa, who is now a visitor in this case. This really proves the inadequacy of Festus regarding this case. It's no wonder that the man of God was obliged to appeal to Caesar. First, the criminal elders from Israel. Second, Lysias, the commander. Third, Felix, the money lover. Fourth, Festus, the inadequate. Fifth, Agrippa, the son and grandson of true criminals. Verse 16 says, to them I answered, it is not a custom of the Romans to deliver any man to destruction before the accused meets the accuser face to face and has opportunity to answer for himself concerning the charge against him. What Festus calls Roman custom was actually Roman law. The Roman courts didn't condemn a person without proof of his guilt. Felix, Festus, and many others understood that. The purpose of all the Jewish leaders was to lead Paul into destruction. They knew that very well. This was a scenario in the case of Christ also. Pilate knew that they, the whole crowd on that occasion, were not being honest, and that they were demanding Jesus to be crucified for the simple fact that they were offended by Jesus' teachings. The same thing is happening today with many Christians around the world. They die for false rather than real reasons. 17:18 says, therefore, when they came together without any delay the next day, I sat on the judgment seat and commanded the man to be brought in. When the accusers stood up, they brought no accusation against him of such things as I supposed. When men pass the wrong judgment, then God will be the one doing the right judging. Festus is in a very delicate situation if he doesn't use righteous judgment against Paul. This is the reason why he asked for advice from his brother-in-law and from his sister Julia Bernice. They never heard the accusers bring any valid points against Paul. So the question is, why continue a trial that is not based on truth, but on pure speculation? Festus is not giving the death of Jesus any important attention. Very indifferently says, a certain Jesus who had died, whom Paul affirmed to be alive. Paul was not only teaching the resurrection of Christ, but he was also teaching others that Jesus was enthroned in heaven. This is what gives life to every Christian around the world, knowing that Jesus is alive, that he is with us, and in whatever situation we might find ourselves in. Paul was the one who requested to go to Caesar. Who was Caesar at this time? Augustus or Nero? Augustus is not a proper name. It's a title used among Caesars to indicate divinity among the Roman people. By this time in history, they really believed that Caesar was a divine being. The real Caesar, of course, was Nero. The name of Augustus probably denotes that which is venerable or worthy of honour and reverence. It first applied to Caesar Octavianus, who was Roman emperor in the time when Jesus was born, and is usually called Augustus Caesar. But the title continued to be used of his successors in office as denoting the veneration or reverence which was due to the rank of emperor. Verse 22 says, Agrippa said to Festus, I also would like to hear the man myself. Tomorrow, he said, you shall hear him. Agrippa knew a lot about the way. His great-grandfather tried to kill Jesus. His uncle killed John and put Jesus in trial. His father killed James. I'm sure he knew a lot about these things. Now Agrippa showed real interest in hearing Paul. I should also like to hear this man myself. Every time Paul has the opportunity to talk, he only preaches the gospel of Christ to other people and exhorts people to change their ways and to look for God, the only real and true God. A date has been set. Tomorrow. The next day, when Agrippa and Bernice come with great pomp and enter the auditorium with the commanders and the prominent men of the city, at Festus' command, Paul was brought in. Humans have such short memories. Can you see the way they're entering the auditorium? Luke says, with great pomp. Doesn't Agrippa remember what happened to his father when he acted in this exact way? Acts 12:21-23. So on the set day, Herod, arrayed in royal apparel, sat on his throne and gave an oration to them. And the people kept shouting, the voice of a God and not of a man. And immediately an angel of the Lord struck him because he didn't give glory to God. And he was eaten by worms and died. The men are not arriving alone. With Herod there was his wife, mistress, sister. Many commanders are also coming, many prominent men of the city. What city? Caesarea? How far from Jerusalem? About 70 miles. Verse 24. King Agrippa and all the men who are present with us, you see this man about whom the whole assembly of the Jews petitioned me, both at Jerusalem and here, crying out he was not fit to live any longer. Festus has given the whole audience a great introduction of the things that are happening among them. Festus goes straight to the point. This man has been requested by the Jews that he's not fit to live any longer. The reason? There are no reasons. Just pure lies and speculation. If Festus had already found out what Paul had done, nothing worthy of death, why did he ask him? Do you want to go to Jerusalem and there be tried? The Bible prophecy, the words of Jesus had to be fulfilled somehow, and God often used sinful men on many occasions to carry his work and purposes. By Festus asking the question, Paul appealed to Caesar, and that is the will of God, that he can go to Rome. Festus seems useless and incapable. Who put him in that position in the first place? I have nothing to write to my Lord. Who is the Lord? Who is the Lord? That's the reason why, King Agrippa, I bring this man in front of you, so that you can help me. Put something on paper for Augustus, my Lord. Festus says, I don't want to send this man to my Lord like this without a crime. 27 says, for it seems to be unreasonable to send a prisoner and not to specify the charges against him. Felix had left Festus in a big mess concerning Paul, and now they all are passing the responsibility for making the right decision to one another. Festus thinks it would not be wise to send Paul up to the imperial court without the charges specified against him, if he could find in any way ascertain them. Festus would have sent Paul to the emperor charged or no charges, simply because Paul had appealed to the emperor to make a final disposition of his case. While they try to figure out a solution, it will be an opportunity for both Festus and Agrippa to learn more about the way, as Paul calls it. The hearing will give Paul another opportunity to preach the gospel. From Paul's speech before Festus and Agrippa, recorded in chapter 26, we'll learn a few more details about Paul's conversion. This will be the third time the story has been told in the book of Acts. We can also fill in more details about Paul's conversion from statements in his letters, such as Galatians 1 and 2. Ellis has another poem, based on different parts of Scripture. Malachi 4 verse 2 says, "The Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings." Alice says, "A new sun arose one day to brighten the world's sky. Before that true sun could arise, first he had to die." The old sun set upon the cross. It was a sad, dark day. But with the rising of God's Son, the darkness passed away. The star that once lit Bethlehem was dimmed but for a while. Far brighter now God's sun shines down. In him we see God smile. The hope he gives goes out to all. That sun can warm the soul. Its rays can brighten any heart, though it be black as coal. Many years have come and gone since Resurrection Day. That sun shines bright as ever. No clouds steal it away. No cloud of doubt will last for long. It melts beneath his love. When things look dark and gloomy here, just cast your eyes above. Thank you for your patience.